Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said they want to hire more AI specialists and less bankers.
Dimon always makes big statements. He's one of the big swings in the market. If you're going to be looking at JP Morgan Chase on their job openings, they are still looking for actual bankers. But there's a bit of a misconception that everyone needs to be in their terminal and start becoming an engineer, because clearly the majority of the world isn't an engineer and isn't a systems thinker. Work with Claude, Cowork, OpenAI, Codex, GPT, they're all building these new artifacts very rapidly. Vibe coding is a thing, Sam. You'll probably also do it in your evenings. But that is not production grade. LLMs are trained so well. It feels like you're having a conversation with them, that they have intelligence, which still to a large degree, they don't.
Guys, we are back with another episode of Wrap Up Podcast. And today we want to learn how AI is basically changing the banking world, the banking technology, and how we interact with the banks, both on the front end, consumer-facing applications, as well as in back-end and technology side of the things. And today I'm joined by Tim Rutten, Chief Marketing Officer at Backbase. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Sam. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. Tim, I want to start with one interesting question. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, a few days ago said they want to hire more AI specialists and less bankers, or fewer banking specialists. What do you think this means for recent graduates or people who already have been working in the banking industry for the past, let's say, I don't know, many years? So what's going to change for them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Jamie Dimon always makes big statements. He's one of the big swings in the market.
Right.
So my honest view at this moment in time is it doesn't really materially change immediately what that means to juniors or graduates coming into the workforce.
Okay.
What it basically means is that in the context of JP Morgan, they're making a bit of a switch up. Of course,
Right.
they need AI specialists to work with the subject matter experts to then automate certain workflows, processes, what have you. Maybe even to make some parts of the business completely autonomous. And for that, you do need people who know how to build. So if I read his statement, I'm reading he needs builders that can work with his operators to actually completely transform the operation from the inside out. At the same time, if you're going to be looking at JP Morgan Chase on their job openings, they are still looking for actual bankers. So it feels like a black and white statement. It hardly is, right? So I'm a little bit more nuanced in that sense, but it does signal that he clearly needs more builders at the scale of JP Morgan Chase, which has thousands of engineers, right? So that AI specialism is an interesting angle, clearly.
Yeah, in your opinion, what does that builder mean in the world of AI and banking?
Yeah, a builder means someone who can work with the subject matter expert and turn it into working software and working agentic workflows at a rapid pace. So not at a, hey, let's do a sprint, let's do a preparation, let's build a Kanban board, blah, 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 blah. You're weeks out. No. You sit down and you're literally building it on the spot almost. That is also what the Anthropics and the OpenAIs and all of those, let's say, LLM frontier labs are doing exactly with banks like JP Morgan Chase. That's also what Backbase is doing exactly with those types of institutions. We sit down, we work with the subject matter experts. Typically, we actually bring the expertise ourselves, which allows you to speed up. And they just work almost real time. That demands a certain type of capability and talent, but also proneness in being an AI native thinker, builder, and operator. That's the type of profile he's clearly in the market for.
Does it mean that if I studied finance, if I studied accounting at the university and have been working in this industry for the past 10 years, I have to start learning how to code, how to, let's say, use Jira, how to use Claude, Cowork, and tools like this?
I think there's a bit of a misconception that everyone needs to be in their terminal and start becoming an engineer, because clearly the majority of the world isn't an engineer and isn't a systems thinker. And that's completely okay. We still need subject matter experts. We still need, a lot of different crafts and roles that simply will never be completely taken over by AI.
Okay.
However, you want to be in a position where every professional in every craft has a certain level of systemic thinking. So every organization is an organism, is an engine. And with the onset now of AI, that is like the electricity of the future businesses. And if you don't understand how electricity and devices work, then you're probably still doing punch cards for your accounting books. So what I'm trying to say is the threshold is a little bit up in terms of technology understanding that everyone universally needs to have. But let's not make the statement that everyone needs to be coding, but not everyone, because not everyone can actually code. And yes, vibe coding is a
Mhm.
thing, Sam. You'll probably also do it in your evenings, but that is not production grade. That is not a secure, compliant, regulatory ready. That doesn't scale at the size of an actual banking operation. It just allows you to bring your ideas to life very rapidly, and it allows you to build a bit of an operation of one, which is great. If you bring that to the table, and if you're a banker and just getting started, I think you're already unique. So, if
Okay.
anything, I would say definitely lean in, work with Claude, Cowork, OpenAI, Codex, GPT. They're all building these new artifacts very rapidly. For
Right.
like you work with Lovable. It's fine, but at least do it, because it's, yeah, final thing, and I'll bring it back to you, Sam. But it's like putting on
Sure.
your CV. Decades ago, you would put on your CV that you were able to work with Word and Microsoft Access and PowerPoint. Like that's a
Okay.
special thing. Right now, it's, hey, I'm AI native, I'm AI fluent, I can build with AI.
Mm.
Over time, it's like, sure, we all drink water. It will be a commodity very soon. So that's maybe the main takeaway.
I love the analogy that you give. Yeah, I drink water. And where do you guys come in and for the banks if they want to upgrade their technology and become AI ready in the AI native world? So what does Backbase do?
Yeah. So Backbase in a nutshell is a banking operating system, and it's AI native by design, meaning we have completely built out an architecture that sets you on the AI native infrastructure day one.
Okay.
What needs to hold true for that? And we're doing this with 100 plus banks globally already for 20 plus years. And in the past 2 years, we've made the big bet to go all the way on the AI train, and actually
Hmm.
not hold back, not, let's say, let's just wait it out and see what happens to the industry. The moment we saw the technology and the capability it has, we were sold. And if you think of the exponential innovation that it's bringing, and basically the recursive loops that are happening in the frontier labs,
Okay.
just extrapolate all the data points, we will live in an AI native world in 2, 3, 4, 5 years latest. So we
All right.
better also get banking ready for that industry move, that transformation is happening right now. And Backbase is very well positioned for it, because historically we are a banking platform. We were actually
Okay.
the first one to bring, let's say, mid to larger scale banks to the omnichannel banking world, so that they had a nice platform in between all of their legacy systems, so you could do orchestration appropriately, personalization, everything that is needed to run a digital operation, to then power your
Hmm.
mobile applications, your web applications, your employee applications. Basically, the first digital transformation wave, which then
All
went
right.
mobile, we went to cloud, all those different things, which positions us very well to also bring AI properly into the mix by introducing architectural layers that A, bring all the data together, B, bring all the intelligence together so you can do machine learning and, let's say, proper AI applications within the context of the bank. And of
Right.
course, thirdly, to run your agents at a scale in a regulated context, which is banking, which needs depth, which needs policies, which needs security. And that's essentially what we launched 3 months ago at our flagship
Okay.
event, Backbase Engage. And that is the AI native banking OS, which literally unifies the front line of your banking operation. So any type of
Right.
individual, be it the customer, be it the employee working with the customer across the full, let's say, life cycle of that given customer in the operation of the bank, we
Right.
completely, make that ready for the AI native world, which means there are agentic workloads, there are human workloads, there's oversight, there's policy checks. All of those things are nicely coming together in that world now.
Right. Tim, you basically mentioned all the three stages of AI, machine learning, Gen AI, then agentic AI in banking. So I just wanted to make it clear for my audience and people who are working in the banking industry. So what are the differences between these two? So where should the bank start? I mean, I think machine learning has been here for a while now. Then came generative AI, and now we are talking about agentic AI. So what are the differences?
Yeah. So where we typically come in, Sam, is there's just simply put a use case that is end to end,
Okay.
be it on the revenue side of the house, the customer engagement side of the house, or actually deeply embedded in the banking operation.
Right.
And where it starts also defines a little bit what is the objective. So if it's in banking operations, it's mostly process cleanup. If not
All right.
completely removing processes and not even making a process that shouldn't exist at all agentic. Like that is a silly move to make.
Hmm.
But we basically come in and do an MRI scan on where is the most evident application of our technology.
All right.
And from there onwards, we start collaborating to understand, okay, what is the process? What is the use case? What is potentially the drag that you have internally in your institution? And then we basically apply the patterns appropriately. Coming back to your
Okay.
question on what is the difference between machine learning, Gen AI, and agentic AI, machine learning, again, has been around for many decades. That is nothing new. It's
Right.
basically crunching the data at a level of quality that you get, a very good understanding of what is the next data point that is coming up, where you can do probability assessments. You essentially work the data like a proper statistician. But that
Okay.
again has been around for many, many years. When Gen AI kicked in, all of a sudden we had a probabilistic language model which would return us the next logical letter. Right
Hmm.
now we're doing that at scale, and because these LLMs are trained so well, that's also why it's so costly.
Yeah.
It feels like you're having a conversation with them, that they have intelligence, which still to a large degree they don't.
Yeah.
However, with agentic AI, which is basically um, almost like self-driving computers that are using the LLMs, that are using all the different capabilities around them, including APIs, including building a little script on their own, which feels
Mm.
like reasoning. All of a sudden, they can actually move work, and it's not limited by the human capacity anymore,
Mm.
meaning those agents, which are just literally little computers, can start doing work, and it feels and acts like it is a human, which in essence
Right.
it isn't. It is just a highly probabilistic engine that is running and taking an objective from me or from yourself or from anyone here in the conversation,
Yeah.
and tries to get to the outcome.
Right.
I think the breakthrough with agentic AI is that it basically takes all of the powerful technologies around itself, which includes LLMs, which also includes machine learning models, but also just regular APIs and MCPs that are properly exposed to it, and finds the outcome and finds its way. And
Right.
that thing is clearly the breakthrough of the past year.
What frontier models are you guys working with? I asked this question because after this, I have another burning question that I will ask. But if you, I would love to understand, are you working with, let's say, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google? What companies do you guys work with when it comes to the AI part of the things at Backbase?
Yeah, it is all of the above, but also
Okay.
the open source models. Basically, every use case, every context will have a different set of models that apply very well or are most efficient, most effective in that particular little domain.
All right.
If it's very sensitive, then it's a self-hosted LLM, or let's say a more local small language model that you would apply in context of our product, as an example.
All right.
If I think about all the work that we do day to day in our engineering departments, we are currently heavily on the Anthropic train, because that model just has the highest quality of delivery at this moment in time. At the same time, we allow all models to be utilized for building out our code internally. So in a sense, we're Swiss neutral to delivery on that end.
I want to understand when it comes to your solutions that you provide to the banks. How does that work? I mean, let's say you are saying we are AI native. It means that you must have a large language models to be implemented in your solutions, right?
Yeah.
How that part works.
Yeah. So Backbase is Swiss neutral because the majority of banks, they have already made a few choices on the LLMs that they prefer, that are
All
compliant
right.
for them to do work with and also bring confidential data to the
All
table with.
right.
So what you'll find in the Backbase platform in the banking OS is an LLM gateway. And that LLM gateway can go to all the large frontier models that are out there, which we can consume.
Okay.
But it also certainly goes into specific proprietary, maybe even self-trained language models that you might have within the perimeter of the bank. So in a way, it's like an API
Oh.
gateway from the past, but now it's an LLM gateway. So it's open.
Okay. Okay, so basically it means it's a bank's choice which LLM to use, and you guys basically orchestrate depending on your wants and needs. Then now
Correct.
here's the burning question: the all the industries asking, be it banking, be it technology, how to manage the token costs. You know, now those Anthropics and OpenAIs are switching from subscriptions to token based, usage based pricing, and in agentic world where one agent sits and does one task, I mean, you can eat up your tokens in a matter of weeks and months.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a great question, because at the end of the day, tokens, you're only consuming tokens if you're using the LLM for inference, meaning you're
Yeah.
asking it to do certain things on your behalf. However, it is not always the right thing to do. So if I
Mm-hmm.
think about the AI native banking OS that we've brought to life here at Backbase and are running with our customers, it is not fully agentic. It is not.
Okay.
It's not like everything is an LLM all of a sudden. No, it's still 80% an actual rigid, robust banking platform. And now 10-20% allows you to tap into agents. It allows you to tap into LLMs at the right moment in time. But trust me, banking is predominantly deterministic because
Okay.
transactions are transactions. They're just literally facts. They're just an API that delivers the transactions, and they don't need any reasoning. They don't need any thinking. They don't need any analysis per se at that moment in time. So for the majority, you need a very strong, let's say, delineation between what use cases, what user flows, what data flows are actually leveraging LLM inference to get certain
Okay.
outputs. What is using machine learning to actually analyze the data and find patterns, and what elements are actually ran by agents, and hence there's
Mm.
a good ROI on investing the tokens to not having it done by an individual human. So there's a
Okay.
whole spectrum of decisions you need to make, which then, as a result, optimizes your token cost next to how you implement the technology appropriately with guardrails, so that agents don't, keep going off the rails and hence do a lot of token usage.
You said 80% of technology is still the same technologies that were used until this moment, and now it's only maybe 10-20% is AI, right? So, do I understand you correctly?
Yeah, if you think about the split of which elements are truly agentic and truly consuming token cost,
Okay, yeah,
that's definitely
that's the case.
that is the case. That's what you're going to be looking at, because there's
Okay,
no reality where you're going to log into your JP Morgan Chase application and it's just an
okay,
agent and it's completely fluid what's happening on the screen, which is you have no control over what it looks like.
all
The
right,
regulator will not allow it. Also, showing your transaction data, that is not a LLM inference call. That's just an API call, like
yeah,
forever.
yeah,
So again, there's layers of where you would apply which type of technology to get which outcome. And again, even with the AI native banking OS, it is not AI everywhere. No, it's ready for the AI native world, so you can get
mm,
the most value out of it. But still, the same holds true as with the mobile change or the cloud change. How do you
okay.
optimize the technology for the use case that you have?
And from your experience of working with hundreds of banks and implementing AI native solutions, where do you think banks should start implementing AI actually?
It depends on the context of the bank, but basically they have a burning element in their operation where they really need to make a change. Either they have a
Okay,
burning platform and they need to move off of that platform and basically go for the right infrastructure and architecture for the future, or they have a specific business case where they want to build a new value proposition and go to market in an AI native way, which is like a continuously recursive learning loop where the value proposition almost becomes better on its own, which is
hmm,
what we see with the AI native companies. And I think also in banking very soon, if not already, that's going to come to the table and the competitive space will change as a result. So the really leaning forward organizations tap on our door for that exactly. The biggest pocket at this moment in time is agentic process automation, because
okay.
banks run on procedures, they run on documents, manual workflows, people being on the phone and sending each other emails to get your mortgage cleared. That domain on its own is very ripe for disruption, and I would say that that's the number one use case at this moment in time.
All right. You also mentioned regulation that regulators wouldn't simply allow you to implement AI in every workflow in your banking application. So, what are the most pressing concerns at the moment that do you guys at Backbase see from regulatory perspective?
Yeah, governance and auditability. So, how do we actually govern the work that an agent is doing? How do we make sure that we know exactly what the trade offs of the agent were at which moment in time, based on what exact data? Um, how do we make sure that it doesn't break through any thresholds, that it doesn't act beyond its parameter?
Mm,
Basically, how you would onboard a human in the organization to also remain compliant and remain governed under the authority of what the bank runs as an operating procedure. That is the number one challenge that the banks need to tackle. And that is also exactly what we do with the AI native banking OS, because the authority
right.
layer, which is one of the 6 layers that we bring to the table, does exactly that. It has all the entitlements, all the policies, all the governance parameters, as well as the consistent, let's say, scanning of all the activities, both human as well as agentic,
Hmm.
where both individual stakeholders or actors can only act if they have a decision token. And a
Okay.
decision token is like a checked green card almost. Yes, you can perform this action. Yes, you can settle this particular payment. Or no, you cannot reconcile this payment against the core because of X, Y, and Z parameter. All
Right.
explainable, all auditable. You can actually hand it over to the regulator as such. That is
Okay.
very intricate because every organization runs in its own way, although the regulator wants to see the documentation in a specific way similarly, which is not universal across the world.
Right.
So you'll basically find that we work in depth with those banks that we work with, the 100 and so plus, to make sure that they, yes, get that innovation pace while remaining compliant, because that is the number one thing.
Tim, I have to ask this question because I ask this almost all of my guests when we discuss AI topics. So, if AI makes a mistake, be it in banking payments, regardless, who is liable? Is it the bank? Is it software vendor like Backbase, for example, or it's AI creator, let's say Claude or
Yep.
OpenAI?
So the legal framework to really cover that well isn't there yet because there's no, let's say, legal entity for an agent. So in my personal belief system, it will just roll up to the entity that's responsible for the operation, which at this moment is the bank. They are
Okay,
regulated. The software vendors are not regulated per se because they don't hold a banking license. They don't have that balance sheet. They are not servicing those customers directly. So it really sits with the bank. And
all right,
what is the primary capability of a bank? Managing risk. So they are able to do that very well, but they're now entering into a domain where it's very unclear what does that mean. So, funnily enough, last week I was talking to and with a regulator in the Banking Reinvented podcast, which I'm hosting,
yeah.
and he's exactly explaining that domain, which is currently the number one conversation they are having. Who is
Mm-hmm.
accountable? At this moment in time, it is the bank.
It is the bank. Okay, so they should be very, very cautious implementing any AI solutions. As you said, auditability is one of the critical parts for that, I believe.
I would
And
argue all of us need to be very. You need to scrutinize how you leverage any technology. And
mhm,
whether it's Gen AI or agentic AI, similarly, you need to scrutinize the technology to really understand how it works. We've been able to do
okay,
that very well because all technologies were deterministic so far.
all
This
right,
one, especially agentic and Gen AI, they are non-deterministic. They're actually relatively dynamic. They are very dynamic. How do you
absolutely.
so you have to put a harness around it. You have to put a governance layer around it, an authority layer. You have to do that in a way that you can comfortably sleep at night. That's what we've brought to life, Sam.
Tim, in that case, taking into account so many elements, what do you think? It's smaller banks or bigger banks are better positioned to implement AI technologies?
Yeah, so there's a reason why Jamie Dimon and the other, let's say, larger scale executives are so bullish and bold on this,
Okay,
because they have the firepower and the funding to over-invest and over-index on the change and then bank the ROI, which is already happening right now.
right.
The more you move down in the segmentation and you go to mid to smaller scale banks and credit unions and community banks, they will not have that firepower. So
Hmm.
they need to rely on the vendor landscape or the technology partner landscape to do it with them or for them, which
Okay.
again also will not come for free. So
Mm.
I think the lower you move into the segments, the more it's going to be okay, we need first to identify a certain level of savings we can bank so that we can then finance or reinvest into the AI native transformation that we need to, inevitably need to go through. So I think the sweet spot right now is the system banks are going clearly and they're going fast and they're getting that massive uplift. I think that middle part, which is exactly where Backbase plays, so middle to top part, um, some of them will have engineering divisions that are prone to self-build. They can have their own first run.
Okay.
The majority will rely on technology partners like Backbase
All
to
right.
go very fast and to also consistently get the latest and greatest. Because that's the real challenge. How do you stay and keep up to scratch with the latest and greatest and get the max value out of it? It changes every
Tim,
week, Sam.
this question is particularly for you and Backbase. Aren't you guys scared of competition? What I mean by this is that neobanks basically are developing their own software and then outsourcing it to other companies. One great example is Starling Bank in the UK. They built their own software, they used it for their own bank, and now they're selling it. And doesn't it mean that they are more prepared for new AI native worlds and then basically overtake your customer base?
Yeah, no, not scared of it. We welcome the competition, to be honest. At the same time, I've never seen that model succeed. at least not
Okay.
at the scale that is potentially seriously competitive to a vendor like Backbase or a technology partner like Backbase. At the end of the day, if you think about the actual work we are doing, Sam, we are helping the bank transform. We are literally the transformational partner of the boardroom. Like, it's at that level. And
Okay.
you then still need to send in highly qualified, super senior individuals that will work with the banking teams to transform their operation.
Okay.
It's not SaaS. It's not that you turn it on and it's DocuSign and all of a sudden we all have the new capability in the organization. It's a deep, deep technology and culture and organizational transformation.
All
So,
right.
as much as I love to talk about the technology and the great architecture we've been able to build over the past decades,
Right.
it's still very much change management and having a strong leadership perspective that, will drive this down the organization top down.
Right.
Not to be underestimated. And then at the same
Uh,
time, it's a business for a reason. It's the only thing we can do because it's it's quite demanding.
Tim, this is my last question. What would you recommend to the, let's say, banking special CIO, particularly Chief Information Officer, that's thinking about transforming their, let's say, banking systems internally, where they should start first?
Yeah, I think you want to get a lay of the land ASAP. What is the potential, not on slide decks, but in actual working technology? You want to really look under the hood of whatever is out there, understand the frontier models, understand the coding capabilities, understand agentic SDLC,
Yeah.
understand what the technology partners could potentially do, like a Backbase as an example. But you have to get very close and pretty hands-on to understand what it really all leads to, how it operates, and how it will change the game. So
Right.
I don't believe in the CIO that listens to talks and just reviews slide decks and waits for the, let's say, bottom-up proposals to come. I believe very much in the fast-charging CIO or CXO leadership that is hands-on driving the change, either next to the mothership or directly in the mothership, with strong, strong conviction.
Hmm.
Meaning you better get started, you better get a strong opinion on what matters most to your organization. And I think from there onwards, you will find the best partners that are going to be on the journey with you, which again is a very serious transformation to step into.
Right. Tim, thank you for coming on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sam.